Hey. It's very endless. At some point, you gotta ask questions. Necessary to ask questions. Hold on. Well, I'm here. I'm just gotta flip this up because my wife is looking at me. Hold on one second. Yeah. I really haven't. I'm sorry. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. It's all good. I think that as far as like gaming, at the moment, I really I'm not really committed to to anything. There are definitely um, some good some pretty good games. Hats off to Steam, by the way. Uh, they definitely found ways to keep people in front of the screens, man. Saying, uh, but yeah, I think that uh, this is going to be a chance for us to just talk about whatever, talk about life, fucking politics, games, have fun gaming, and yeah, man. So I don't know what do you want to start out with? Where in the index of history shall we begin? That that'd be it. I actually um got a I got some message. This is actually what got me back into the um or trying to set this whole thing up and just making the investment into like the new setup and shit. Um, I saw a message from Twitch that said something along the lines of like, if you play any copyrighted music, you're fucking done. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I think that I started like browsing and looking more deep into it, and there was a lot of chatter on I guess that on Twitch itself you can leave comments on certain strings of different conversations. Um, and they were saying that there was some there was some stuff that or some copyright material that they were saying was copyright that wasn't copyrighted, but I think that they weren't trying to shut people down. They were more so just trying to make it say like, hey, any mainstream music that was made like before like like 1990 or after 1990, like you need to have the rights to do that or you're done. Like, so what's the difference between me buying you like essentially like we're doing now, we're just talking, what's the difference between me buying a fucking you know somebody's brand new fucking CD, and or making getting that virtually through the internet and then playing that shit over my stream, and then fucking 10,000 people record that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't you it, yeah, it's definitely getting people views, right? Like it's getting people's attention, but the reality is that I mean, Twitch is probably being threatened, like like crazy threatened, by you know by mainstream media, like mainstream like music fucking attorneys, who are like, yo, I was watching this podcast, I heard your shit, or I heard my client's shit, like you owe, you owe, you owe me $5,000, cease and desist. Um, yeah, man, like cease and desists are funny. I knew in another space and time, I was working on a project with this dude. This dude, uh, which who you know, and he uh he, it was a marketing like a content, Civil War content, shirts, mugs, things of that nature. And he made this shirt which had a or took an image by a very famous painter. Very famous historical painter, and the dude fucking sent him a fucking cease and desist within like 6 hours of him putting that shit up. It was pretty funny. Uh, Hats off to Don Trioni. Like, you're on top of your shit. But it happened. True story. True story. Wait, your mic isn't on? So your mic isn't on, and I'm talking. No, I hear you, but I'm not listening to you on the cast, man. I'm just in here. Well, you should apologize to all these people who think. So apparently the gentleman, Emerald, who is supposed to be hosting this,
The one
actually
that's
dropped.
actually talking now, and wow, it works.
Oh, now he's here. Thank you,
Now
sir.
it's fucking working.
Truly did this for us. I appreciate it. We lost somebody, but it's fine. You'll be back. You missed out
They
here.
were mad because I didn't apologize in time.
That's true.
Well,
But yeah, Don and Trioni, cease and desist.
that was a fun time watching. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Poor Carol, dude.
I don't even, yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know, but I really haven't really followed anybody, since the war rights days. To be honest, in fact, I haven't even really made any attempt to jump into the game. I do, I kind of like, obviously, I check all the updates. They normally, Steam's pretty good about that. They give those blurbs that the developers can give to you that essentially, show you what has changed, fixes, updates, things of that nature. Um, but you know, I'm not. I just think that there's a lot of games that are on the caliber of that game. And I'm actually gonna log into Steam real quick just so I
Right.
can put all my thoughts together. Um, so one of the recent games that I have been playing though has been Insurgency, which is old school, man. Old school first person shooter. Um, Basically, well, first person and multiplayer rather. It's more so multiplayer. You can do individual maps, but based around the modern warfare fighter or whatever. Uh, the really cool gems, when it comes to gaming, the really cool gems are really the ones that allow their user base to take and expand what they've worked on. Another one is like Mountain Blade, War Thunder, Postscriptum, War of Rights. I'm not sure. You definitely can't create your own maps yet, but like Insurgency. Um, but these games, like, they give, when you give the reign, so to speak, when you give those uh, to your player base, and you're like, here, these are the tools which we use to make this. What do you think? Or like, here's this contest and win this, or here, we're challenging you to make something like this. I think that's pretty cool. I don't think, but when it comes to graphics though, I know War of Rights was definitely up there.
Oh man, that was a like, and I tried to get a lot of people on that from my regiment that I reenact with in real life, and they've been all about it because they have that immersion experience.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know?
yeah, of course, of course. I mean, I think that, we're witnessing really a new birth. Like, and I've said that, I've said this for a while. I think I'm pretty sure since you've known me, I said this, that, with War of Rights, like, is that, as a game, really, uh, I feel as though it's kind of like almost like a new, it's creating like a new genre, right?
Hmm.
Like a new genre of gaming. Um, you know, that them yeah, hold fast, yeah, hold fast, Nations of War.
Oh, that
So
game went down to the trolls though.
yeah, you want to know what? But it's some people might say at some point in time, the same thing was, was could be, or that
Oh, War of
same
Rights is still that.
branding, of course, of course.
Yeah.
But again, we were talking about this the other day too, like the player, like the people who you hang out with, right? In the game, the content which you put out is going to draw, in fact, people, right? Who,
Sure.
uh, you know, um, you know, it's going to draw people who are relatively same-minded as you, and again, like, oh, this is a cool game, oh, I like history, oh, I like this type of game, I'm definitely going to play this or whatever. But with that there also comes the I don't want to, there's the good apples and there's the bad apples. I mean, I think at that point it really comes down to the community, to make and or to put into place systems to to moderate that behavior. Would you agree?
No, I think 100% I would agree with that, man. I do see that War of Rights has a very strong like team building community at the same time as also having sort of a negative community at the same time.
Well, I mean, again, it's that, and that's not just war rights, man.
No, that's most every other
Every,
game.
exactly, every game community, whether it
But
be
there are games like this, I think, where it
whether it
hampers
be
the
like fucking,
gameplay.
yeah, I mean, yeah, because I mean that it sours the gameplay a little bit. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Um, but again, I think it's more so up to the community, in order to it becomes at some point, if it gets like super bad, it becomes the point of a developer to step in and make different tweaks. But I also think it's also the behavior of the community in general, which will dictate that. So I mean, I also think it's important for a gaming community to to make those changes too. Um, but I can also say that with War Rights, I know that these guys do a super like hardcore um, historical like crazy research, like in order to like portray all these all the figures as semi-real, at least when it comes to the the not just like the uniforms or like the buttons on the uniforms, the flags, like the fucking beard styles, right? Like the kepi and the kepi styles. Oh, these this regiment might have been more heavily engaged at this point, so their uniforms are going to be a little more trashy than the next one. um, the locations have been like have been like seriously researched, by not just these people who are creating the game, but hand in hand with historians. um, so when it comes to historical context, um, I really think that you should definitely have not only the people who are looking to make the game, the people who are um, uh, directing the vision of the game, right? But it's also it's necessary to within that gaming structure, if you're looking to make a true historical war game, um, whether it be turn-based, whether it be strategy, whether it be first person or multiplayer, you have to add in that human aspect. And on that point, I don't know if you have heard of this game. It looks pretty cool. I have it in my uh, hold on one second. Let me just look for this in my library. It should be in what's the one where, oh, wishlist, got it, all right. Burden of Command.
Burden of Command. I've heard a little bit about that. I'm not 100% familiar with it though.
So it's World War II based. The dude who played Doc Rowe in Band of Brothers, was contracted to do a lot of the voiceovers of the people in this game, which is pretty fucking dope. Um, Not only do they focus on like authentic realism, but they bring that that human aspect that humanity, right, into the game, and based off of like, most games can say, oh, you have to make these choices, and based off the choice you'll get, like, you'll get a response, right? Like there's side campaigns, little campaigns and shit like that, but
Sure, I got what you're
essentially
saying.
you know how it's gonna go. But I think with Burden of Command, basically what they're pitching, what I'm getting out of it is that uh, there is a psychological distinction, and there's a psychological switch that you're going to need to access at some point, like in your own mind, that's going to cognitively make you say, hey, look, if I click on, this lieutenant and move him here, like, and he gets fucking killed, then like I'll be given a set of choices that says something along the lines of, you know there's a 90% chance that your captain's going to survive. Fucking leave him here or bring him back to triage, right? The next one would be like, is like something like, he's dead, or he's going to die, get a medic, or like, stay with Captain whoever and make him comfortable until he passes, right? So you have all these choices, which you really never have. I mean, I've never had to make those choices in a game. You know what I'm saying? um,
Hmm.
it's never really, been, or brought to, or been to that level of like, I have to make a cop and a choice which is going to affect everything on the way down. So essentially, like, what happens to say if that, like, you know once once that character is gone, or that leader is gone, like, if you get through 3 campaigns with this guy that's alive, and then all of a sudden he gets killed or he's wounded or what have you, that's going to have a psychological effect on, like, all the other units in the game. um I think that's pretty cool. Is there anything that you've kind of been, I know you've been messing around with Bannerlord a little bit, so have I.
Yeah, I played a little bit of the Bannerlord stuff, but like I was touching at earlier when I had my microphone muted, it was more of the like the Verdun and the Rising Storm gameplay. That's been really where I've been shifting my focus to. And it has nothing to do with necessarily my field of study, although my interest has moved more towards World War I. So being able to play a game that actually gives you that kind of immersion feeling that you would get from War of Rights is something that's been actually helping me have more motivation to pick up and study more of that war, if that makes any sense. So we're looking at
Like this.
a game really making me want to pick up a book and read more. Not that I
No, I
don't
mean,
read enough, but it's that's something I wanted to add on is like for people like us that are really interested or maybe passionate about studying history and then therefore teaching it, there are ways that you can really get more motivation, and that's playing video games or just
yeah,
talking to
yeah,
other people
absolutely,
with that.
absolutely. I mean, but again, you have to also see with these, one of the things that I also preach is that, like, when you come into a community, no matter what game you're playing or whatever game, there's going to be a community surrounding that game. So if you have a historical aspect of it, there's going to be people who are, rightly so, like, experts in their field. And I've come across, in the 2.5 years or 3 years that I played, War Rights. I know for a fact that there are, they're not, there's, historians, there's people like yourself who have, personal stake, individual research, in people that essentially, that they're related to, that have made change, that have changed the course of history, like,
Yeah.
um, from these, we get these, we get the sense, not only of, how important history is to that individual, but, you get a true sense of like, yo, wow, man, like, if they didn't save this, if they didn't, like, tell me about whatever this is right now, like, or they didn't write that book, or they didn't share that picture with me, like, I never even would have known that was there. And that's when it comes to, history, I know that we're, semi both on the same page, but when it comes to education in general, like I was talking to you a little bit about before, we really need to take the step from, letting others teach, to, bringing what, teaching ourselves, essentially. So, or
Oh, there's
teaching
never a shortage of learning material, that's for
teaching
sure.
others, yeah, exactly. There never there's always stories, man.
Oh
There's
yeah.
always stories, within the stories, within the stories, within the stories, and the challenge for me over the last 15, 20 years has really been, like, with the Dog Space project is, is how do take some of these stories out that have no bearing on the main my main point, like, and what I mean by that is that
You're hitting a nail on the head there, man. I'm actually in one of those writer's block issues with this too. So please
yeah,
continue to touch on
yeah, and
this.
no, no, I get you, and it's not really. I mean, I wouldn't really coin it like writer's block,
No, but
right?
in a sense it is because you're right. Where do you put those?
So those stories that essentially you think should be cast away, or the stories that you think don't fit, quote unquote, with your original idea. This is going to happen all the time, right? I mean, it
Oh
happens
yeah,
with projects at work. It happens, with personal life. It happens with things like, oh, this isn't important. No, this really isn't important. No, I like this, but hey, maybe, oh, hey, I tried this wine, but I really like this other wine better, so I'm not going to try it for a while. You know what I'm
sure.
saying? Or like you really need to I think kind of keep a an open an open mind, and not necessarily trash them altogether. But I mean, the first thing is that any idea is a great idea, and it might not fit in with essentially what you're writing, but you could take that piece of material, whether it be a sentence or a paragraph, maybe even a whole fucking chapter. Like, you never know.
Yeah.
uh, you can take that away and either say, I think I wouldn't throw the shit out. uh, I wouldn't throw it out, but I would put it aside, and you never know when it's going to be never know when it in the whole, or the portion of it, is going to be relative to the next idea that you have, right? So I'm not saying that that material is going to fit in at some point, right then and there. But if you have an idea, definitely write it down. Don't think that it's stupid. But if you have existing material, just put it in, like, put it in like the quote unquote maybe pile. So, like, and then go back and look at it in time to time, and not only just look at that as it is in the form that it is, but I'd also, like, what I would also do is edit make edits to that material, like, and keep working on it and working on it and working on it, massaging it and sculpting and doing whatever it is that you need to do. But it may not be, or it may not fit into the uh, to the current story that you have, but you never know that when a piece of it, and or could not even fit into what you're writing, but could fit into like another story, like down the road. Um, so it never makes sense to throw out. Plus, it's something that you worked on. Why would you throw it out?
I
Yeah,
didn't hope you mean like actually throw it out.
No, no, no. What I mean, like, what I used, back in the, when I first started writing, I would just write in a, in a binder. Um, and it becomes easy, like, with technology and tools and all the shit that we have today, it becomes easier just to be like, oh, let me just like delete that. Let me delete that, right? And when you write, I kind of think of it as like, every word is a bank. And you have a bank of these words, like, to put that into context, like, you have the like 100 times, like, in the bank, you have like it 100 times in the bank, like, whatever that word is, like, the second that you write it, like, don't be afraid of it, commit to it, like, don't delete it. Like, don't fucking, don't say, oh, this is the wrong thing, and like just like try something else, or try to steer the conversation away, or try to steer something in the way you don't want it to go. That doesn't really make sense, but you should
I
commit,
like your word bank idea though.
yeah, you should definitely commit to what you're writing. And when I say word bank, I'm not at all saying that you should limit yourself to the amount of times that you use that word, or you use that specific, uh, whatever it is. But what I am saying is that, you have to think of it, as like, you've committed to it. Like, hey, this is something I think, I wrote it. I wrote it for a reason. There's no reason for me to delete it. Like, let's just kind of work with it and see where it goes.
It's a glass half full, glass half empty type thing,
Uh,
or
yeah,
glass full, half empty. Sorry, you know what I mean.
hmm hmm Um, that makes sense. By the way, since this evening, I've earned about 196 channel points just by watching.
Hey, whoever else is watching, you've earned that too.
They definitely have. Um, and I didn't even know I didn't even know this channel points thing was a thing until I asked you, and then I didn't know. I just don't want to click on it and then be like, haha, you used all your channel points. Like, nah, man. It, someone brought up
It gives you the
spelling.
option to spend them first.
Yes, yes, but then it shows you, it tells you other things that you can do with the points. So I'm gonna sit on my points for
All
now.
right.
I do love it. I do love it though. I do love it how every couple of minutes in the stream chat, like it says like it's like your fucking bot thing. Hey, thanks so much for for joining my show. Thanks so much for joining the cast. Uh, so what is it? Is it just are you you're not watching your own cast, right? No, you can't be. Don't do that. You're boosting your own specs. Who else is in here? It's the no, it's three people. Holla. So what else you got? What else do you have um while I'm here? What about COVID, man? What are your thoughts on? I know we had uh some talks on how I think that like the healthcare industry could could benefit
It could definitely
just
benefit, yeah.
with some simple implementation of mitigation methods. What's your thought on just where we're at?
Hmm. Hmm. I don't know, honestly.
Hello, some
That can you
cool.
reword that for me? Can you hear me? Hello.
Can't hear this guy. Can't hear this guy.
I hate this.
All right, I mean, I guess I'll keep talking, man. Also,
Thank you.
what I really think here, they touch upon health, healthcare, and just health status in general is that like, hey, man, fuck 2020, right? Fuck 2020 hardcore.
Yeah, fuck 2020.
Oh, you're back.
I was trying to get back. I don't know what the fuck was happening.
All right, all right, all right.
Can you hear me
But
on the stream too? I know it's. Hold on.
I don't even know, man. You're off on stream for
Well, I
a
thought I was
second.
working there for a minute.
No, you
I
probably
am. I
are.
am. Okay, cool. I'm back.
Oh,
Cool.
okay, cool. So I'm just gonna mute you again because I don't need to double hear it.
Mm-mm.
But like, thought of where we're at right now. You know, personal opinions. I think that we should probably be way farther.
Right.
Than currently where we're at right now. I think that we have an infrastructure, that's in place that uh, should have, been it should have been pre-primed, so to speak, like no pun intended. Because Twitch and Prime get it, ha 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 ha. So I
No
think that
trademarks on that plug.
no trademarks, no trademarks. But I just think that we, I think that we should have been way more prepared, right? Than we were for a number of reasons, and one of the ideas that I was talking about that I told you is that I live in New Jersey, in a pretty populated area, and they have right down the street from me. There's a medical facility which has outside of the facility like a clean room. So it's like literally like installed in front of the door where you like walk in. Like I've driven by it. Like I mean, you have to like I mean, if you didn't know what it was, you probably wouldn't know what it was. But it's clear what the purpose of it is. So that my thought process essentially was that somehow, when it comes to not just healthcare facilities, more so that's where we'd start. Um, we'd start with hospitals, uh, long-term care facilities, and then kind of expand that into. We'd also have to, consider, small businesses are also important, malls, and then when you're talking about like air filtration, man, that's also something that's super important. Um, you know, in building management, like in the early 90s, right? If you're in a
Mm-hmm.
hospital, the last thing on the doctor's mind was, or the last thing on a long-term for care facilities operational manager's agenda was, how am I going to keep viruses from spreading inside my location, right? And now it's like wherever you go, right? We don't have a choice as people to not see it at some point, or get a reminder of it, right, at some point in the day. Um, yeah. So in other words, like last, like let's just say like September of last year, right? Yeah, September of last year, I got married. There was no mask wearing, and there was no COVID. there was no there was no shutdowns. There was no mass panic. There was none of these things that today are essentially are so relevant. Um, and for to an extent, I feel like um, there's a lot of contributing factors to kind of like where we're at now. I think there should have been maybe like a little bit more unity in the beginning. And I'm not talking about like any type of political affiliation unity. I'm talking about just like humanity unity, which is something that in a 2020 world, like let's say a pre in something in a pre-COVID world, humanity was not something that people really cared about. And when I say that, for example, there's multiple people who have gone into New York City recently, that I follow, and on certain in certain areas. And a lot of people are mentioning how, oh, New York City's a dump, like everything's boarded up, like there's homeless people all over the place, like it's everybody's wearing masks, rah, 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 rah. But the reality is that, like, hey, look, man, like all those homeless people, they've been there. They've been there for the last 10 years. They've been there for the last 15 years, right? It's just that those people chose to, turn the other way, and look away. And now when you have an entire community just like at least the people who are able to, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people here, bro, because a lot of them are flocking to New Jersey, because of obviously the how close it is. You have these people who have turned a blind eye to these things the entire time. And
Right.
now that it's kind of like the only elephant in the room, so to speak, like,
Yeah.
what I'm saying, like their job was the elephant in the room, their kid was the elephant in the room, like whatever it was, like it doesn't matter. But now all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, now I have to walk out of my apartment today because I have to go to work. And there's this, on my either on the way to work, or however I get there, I see six homeless people. Like last year I saw one. But the point is that, is it because you weren't looking for them, right? Or is it because you really didn't see them? And I think that most of the time it's because those people didn't actually, like, they didn't really care to see what that was, if that makes sense. I don't know if you've been experiencing anything like that in Washington. I don't know if Washington's
Absolutely. I
different.
mean, and that's the thing about Washington too, is there's a very high homeless rate there, I think. And going there and actually experiencing that and seeing that on a daily basis, just like walking to the train station, or it's different, and
Well,
you
what it really,
pick up
I
on
mean,
it more.
yeah. So I
You're,
mean,
it's like a
like,
heightened sense to it that you didn't have beforehand, you know?
right, right. I mean, it just interrupted people's lives. But at this point, is it people think that it's just an interruption, or is it an inconvenience?
Of
Like,
course
right?
it's
Like,
an interruption, it's both.
of course. And let's go back to like that homeless person that
Of
nobody
course it's an
saw.
interruption, it's
Like,
both.
right? Like, it's like now you didn't see this person 5 years ago or 6 years ago. Like, you could have walked by that guy, if you're traveling from X to Y, and you go down the same 6 blocks, 5 days, 6 days a week to get to your work, and you're still in New York City because you didn't, or you're still in a location because you didn't have that money. You didn't have I don't have $1 million to fly the fucking coop and buy another house, buy a fucking elitist shore house in fucking New Jersey or whatever,
Right.
right? I don't have the money. I've been living this the entire time, right? But the people now who are talking about all this bullshit, and who are like gaining all this traction and all this fucking noise and saying all this shit, these people are the ones who are, um these people are the ones who aren't there anymore, right? These people, like, it's like the person who like moved out of New Jersey, or the person who moved out of New York to a different location, or the person who's like in their fucking, in their house in the fucking Hamptons, who escaped this whole, thing, or tried to do their best to escape this whole thing. Like in the beginning, man, I was hearing stories about people who were like airlifting like supplies to their like fucking Hampton homes, man. That shit made me fucking sick, dude. Like sick. It's like we're 8 months into a situation, a very dire situation, and I think we came to the grim, or at least the USA Today came to the very grim tally of 3,000, or a little bit over 3,000 deaths, right? And I was reading an article the other day, which was foreshadowing this exact point in life, this exact time. And they mentioned when you put it into a humanity perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you put it into a humanity perspective, I think that's it's something that could have been prevented, just in general, like no matter what your politics. Um, and I think that you know you can't, like, we have people who are like, even now buying up hordes of like N95 masks and selling them to the highest bidder on in different on different platforms, like whether it be like LinkedIn, like Facebook, Facebook Market, whatever you want, whatever you want to call it, wherever you can trade commodities, right? um, I mean, mass has become a priority, and there's countless like, and I mean, you can't help, like, if you turn on the news at any point in time, or I mean, or at some point during the day, you can't help to hear like one of these stories, right? About, oh, hey, these this healthcare worker got sick because they didn't have the
Right.
corrective equipment, or this person is now sick because they didn't have this protective equipment in place, or this wasn't put in place. Now all these people are sick, or whatever. And it's like, first of all, like, first and foremost, like, there's, like, I've never in a million years would have imagined that we would be in this situation, right? But this is what we do, man. Like, we overcome, we adapt, and we figure out the best course to make, uh, to make it better. um but you know I, I I I stand up to these healthcare workers, like I stand up, for all these people who are like literally like working like 22-hour shifts. um it's very important that people understand that these people are like literally like going home. It doesn't really matter, to them. It's not a lot of them have to do it. And after the last 6 to 8 months, um it seems kind of awkward. It seems kind of awkward that something like that would happen. um so I'm not I'm not really sure.
You still there? Spades, we got you. Oh.
My bad.
Oh, you're good. Didn't realize you were there still. I was like, I think I lost
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah, I'm still here. I'm
No,
still
I
here.
hope so.
Just have this there's this troll neighbor that lives right below me. She's like tapping on the ceiling like a troll.
She got a bat and everything too. Just start beating on the fucking ceiling.
Yeah, legit, man. Legit.
I'll
Um,
be able to.
yeah, but that's kind of like, y- you know, it. I just think that we should be in a better place. Like, I think that a lot of people have made decisions that aren't,
Rational.
that aren't, yeah.
Yeah, I fucking agree with that more so, but I'm not gonna dive into that right now because we all got. Hey, fuck yeah.
Um, but again, like, we think that, you know, we really have to think more, from a
Of
humanity
course.
standpoint, and from a, help your, brother and your sister standpoint, and like, as opposed to focusing on all the negative, we really have to start focusing on all the positive
Yeah.
that we can do for people. And whether that be gifting, whether that be, maybe even $5, $10 a month to a favorite charity, whether that be, um, whether that be just buying an extra, cup of coffee, or buying a coffee and a bagel, walking out if you see somebody who's obviously needs it. Just bring more compassion, right? And just
Mm.
bring more, just bring more of that, substance, to today. It's very important, because very quickly you can fall down that, um, very quickly, from a mental standpoint, we can kind of fall down
It's a
that
very.
that rabbit hole, especially, today.
And you know what? Since we're talking about it, I'll touch without going into crazy detail because I haven't talked a lot Twitch about it. Um, but I am expecting a child coming up, right? Me and you talked about this a little bit yesterday. It's something that COVID directly affects, and it's something that changes the way things are thought about and traditions, or even just plans that you may have had get completely thrown out of the water.
Yeah.
One of those being that I am not going to have one of the traditional opportunities a father is given where he can be in the delivery room for the birth of his kid.
Right.
And a few reasons directly to that is, then leading up to the main thing, it's COVID. You're only allowed one person in the room. Obviously, being the person in there, you're going to have somebody you're most comfortable with in that room with you. And it's understandable and it's painful. I'm not excusing it, but I'm also not attacking it. But it's one of those things that you look at in hindsight and you're just like, fuck, this virus hits me too, even if I don't physically have it. I'm not over here with it as far as I know. And
It
it's
just affects so many people, right? It
right.
affects so many people that
Oh
and it
my
affects so
gosh,
many
yeah.
people that you possibly could.
But there are people that just don't believe it. And I'm like, it's here. It is a direct cause of so much. And then that in turn, having that feeling of not being able to be there causes, like you said, the mental issues, which something I struggled with. And I had to seek therapy for that. And seeking the therapy, I suck.
Yeah, man. I mean,
That's not
I
normal.
it's it's become, but here we are. It's kind of become the new normal, and mental health today is even more important than it was 15, 20, even
Mm-hmm.
8 months ago. And it's the mental capacity and the mental state that are in, essentially, is going to dictate how we live our lives on a day-to-day basis. It's going to dictate how we function, not only in a social, you know on a social agenda, but on a personal agenda,
Mm-hmm.
on a physical, agenda. It's going to affect our health. It's going to affect the way we eat. It's going to affect the way we sleep. And that gets away from you very quickly. It gets away from me very quickly. And we live today, like, we were talking about. We live today in a world where you can call a number and get you know get drinks delivered to your house at
Yeah.
12:30 at night. Um, you know,
Hallelujah, but
you
still.
can, but you can do that, but there's multiple like AA locations that have been shut down, or at least that don't have meetings. A lot of these meetings are now virtual.
There's AA
And you have,
instructors over here drinking themselves.
yeah,
I'm
and,
not even
and
trying
you
to be
have
funny and like make a joke, but you know what? That's the honest truth. They're
right,
so
right.
stressed too because their jobs are
It's
out,
just,
or their
it's
shit's
access.
out.
It's
Yeah.
just easier access to the things that, um, at some point made our lives feel better, like, or made us, or get to the state that we were in. So
Alcohol is one of those
is it
things people
there?
go to.
Of course. But now think about, my wife's, friend is a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of her classes are now virtual. So it was kind of back and forth and back and forth. A lot of the classes are now virtual. And it's become a really big challenge for a lot of these teachers to keep their kids, like, in the classroom, like, um, in a virtual classroom. Attendance is down. Some of these kids don't show up to, don't come to class for weeks. And the problem that we're going to have, or you're going to see, is that, at the end of the day, you're really not going. It's not. I want to say. it's not really the parents that are going to be affected. Like it's not the teachers that are going to be affected. It's going to be the child, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at like K through 12, those are one of the most important um, one of important times. Your brain is growing at such a fast rate. You're learning, and being able to function in a community and being able to function in public is really that's learn that in school. When you remove that, and now the person or the child who was getting that access now doesn't have that access. Now you have to consider what type of home the child is in. You have to consider, you know, was that child going to school in the morning, getting dropped off because they were participating in some type of lunch program, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, Now they have no have access to that. There's a number of children who don't have access to just basic internet. So when you look at that as a whole too, it's like even if a child is willing to learn, and they don't have they don't have a computer, or they don't have something to set that up, like to be able to bridge that information gap. They're a lot of these kids are being like left in the dust, and it's being even more hard for these teachers to not only get their kids into class but to continue on with the situation. It's very it's at this point it's dire. um, but that's one of many things, man. I mean, everybody there's everybody has problems. There's always problems, but you know people should focus more. Yeah, but we should focus more on the focus more on the as opposed to becoming uh, a reactive society. I think it should be more like a preventive society. So I think we need to we kind of got to accept things like this will happen, as opposed to focusing on eradicating them, like totally mitigating them.
Yeah.
We have to focus more on you know pre- preventing as much of it as possible. um,
It is
yeah,
indeed
but
preventable. I think it is preventable. I'd like to say, and I mean, I don't want to be the definitive voice, obviously, but I do think there is obviously preventative measures that could have been taken place and can
sure,
still be put in place. Look, we're
of
at
course.
bad numbers. We're at some horrible fucking numbers, actually. But I think there's still things that can be done to stymie that from getting even further into a place we don't need to be in. Because we're
Yeah,
already in a place we don't need to be in.
yeah, no, I hear that. I
And
totally.
I mean that in more than one way because, like you said, it's touching on all of it. It's touching on everything that has actually become an issue since COVID. Because it's no longer just COVID-19. That is the worst thing. That is the main killer. But look at all the extra, I'm gonna almost say extracurricular things it caused. Like you said, the mental health is important. Man, I'm gonna tell you something like true with my own personal mental health. I have taken care of it for years. I've looked at it. I've never been so adamant on trying to take care of that because it has been different. It's not easy to deal with a mental health issue in a time where these people are now short because everybody's got something going on now that they have to go to.
Of
And it's
course.
not and it's not, belittling whatever anybody may be going through. That's not what I'm trying to say. But pre-established mental health patients that have been seeking help are now losing access to that as well. That's something I've seen, and I mean I tried to get to a different therapist because the one I was just at was horrible. Wouldn't answer. They wouldn't be able to keep up conversation. They're doing it all virtual, which is good, but it was just the way they weren't prepared for it, as was none of us,
Of course.
and they didn't implement. I guess is a better word. Not prepared. They didn't implement a good policy and a plan of action on how to deal with this for this foreseeable future. It looks like they're still running on a temporary. They're planning to shut down for a long time plan. That's just been strung out.
I hear you. um, so we're coming up on about an hour. Just kind of wanted to to close things out. Like just for right now, obviously it's
Yeah.
it's been a long fucking 10:30 to 1.
Yeah, it has.
uh, but what we will do is that I guess we'll make a plan at some point in the next couple of days. We'll do another one of
Mm-hmm.
these like precasts. Um, obviously want to thank everybody who was here tonight. One of the probably three people who kept coming back and forth.
Yeah, no, yeah, we definitely even like I said, today was really it's not a definitive. Today was just kind of a let's test the waters and see how this would even go. That's why we were
Yeah, I
just
mean we got up to
bouncing.
4. At
Yeah,
least that's what it showed on mine. It's pretty decent.
and tomorrow we have our set back to back part. Tomorrow's the Tannenberg stream that I do for the World War One stuff, and then
Well, I don't have
afterwards,
Tannenberg, but I'll jump on. I'll check it out for sure.
cool. Yeah, you think it's like $5 on G2A.
It's not bad.
Yeah, if you ever get an inkling to get it. But my plan was is to do another just aftercast decompression for probably about an hour afterwards. And if you wanted to hop on and just again talk, but with a little bit of pre-planning
Yeah,
this
cool.
time. So now that we know it does work.
Yeah, just hit me up whenever or before you decide to do that. Like before the like hit me up in like this, I guess the middle of the Tannenberg situation, and I'll make plans to get on, and then we'll continue the fireside.
That sounds perfect. I like the fireside. I like
All
it.
right, brother.
All right, man. Well, you have yourself a good night.
You as well. Thank you for having me. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure having you.
Peace.
Later. All right, guys. Well, like I said, this was different, new, and something I didn't expect really to actually be even jumping on as an experiment tonight. But I'm glad that we were able to get the ball rolling with this, and I really hope that with all my streams, I've tried to be more consistent. And life sometimes doesn't allow that to work. Just my current situation now, I have some availability to really focus on getting back to this, and a lot of the ideas that have stemmed from the time not being on this, believe it or not, are something I really want to put into place and try to have for all of us, because I think it would be cool to expand this and do something a little different than what I'm traditionally used to doing here. I'm not gonna go right now at this very moment. I just wanted to again fill out, and I'm going, but I still want to talk. I just wanted to kind of fill in gaps of where we're at as a stream base, because there are people that have been supporting, and I don't want to continue to have people just supporting something that's not active. I'd like to have people actually knowing that you're getting what you're paying for, and it's gonna be even better quality than before, and better stuff being put out as content. But I think having this aftercast is cool. I'm excited to be doing different games instead of just focusing on the Soul War of Rights, which was cool. It brought in a decent community, but I think we do offer an expanded variety of games that could be exposed here, and I think we could have a lot of fun. And I really want to try to build the community further and get a place where we can all hang out and play some history games, have some beers, and just have a good time, and decompress with this, have a chat, let's talk, let's learn some stuff. No insults, no none of this. We're a friendly place here. But everybody, I do want to give you a huge thank you for joining us tonight for the return. It was really, really fun being able to sit up here and do this tonight. I'm excited to be back at 9:30 p.m. EST tomorrow afternoon, or tomorrow evening rather. We're going to be playing Tannenberg. Tannenberg's just a little different than the traditional Verdun that we play, but I think we're going to like it. With that, I do hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful Thursday, and we will see you.